Hello, and welcome to the Dahlia World Gardens presentation of Seattle at Dawn, a Mage the Ascension Chronicle. I am our storyteller, Tim Dahlia. Thank you for joining us. If you like our show and you want to see more, you can catch up with all our magical shenanigans on our YouTube playlist. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel? We would greatly appreciate that. Today, it's a very special session of Seattle at Dawn, where normally you see more than a few mages. You see 3 or 4 at a time. Tonight we're going to focus in on 2 young mages. One we don't even know yet, but it'll be fun as we build and explore and storytell some new mages together, played by our friends Sarah and Seán. Sarah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the world?
Sure. My name's Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Lucia, who is she doesn't think of herself as a mage so much as a communicator with angels.
Yes, I love that so much.
And I haven't started an Instagram for her yet, but one of these days I'll probably get to it.
That would be fantastic, and then we could just juxtapose that to the actual Instagrace account that Lucia has.
That's right.
I love that. Alrighty. And Seán, you're up.
All right. Well, I'm Seán. My pronouns are I don't particularly care. He, him, they, them. But my character is in development as things currently stand. So we are going to be kind of as I typically like to do. Honestly, as I understand things, we're going to be kind of developing as we play.
Yes.
And that's how I like to do things, to be completely honest. So that works out.
That's fantastic. Different strokes for different folks, as we say here. All right. I am thrilled to have you both here. Let us get into it. So, as you two may or may not know, Seattle has had a wild autumn, and the winter has started off with quite a bang. Lucia, for your part, you have recovered from your encounter with an extra-dimensional entity. It claimed to be an angel, but you know better. You were contacted frequently by the mage who rescued you, Anea, afterward. Even so far as to coordinate with her and her new cabal to help try and trap this monster. As it turns out, this monster was stuck in on a particular victim, as it had perused the internet seeking different streamers in different facilities and found that it had a taste to cancel them. One streamer was not canceled, and so it had a kind of a feedback loop where it needed to do that. And this digital terror was brought down not too long ago. The news reported a terrorist attack at the Seattle Center Winterfest. You later learned from Anea that Cancel was canceled at the Winterfest, and it was the initial cause of the entire kerfuffle there, and was defeated. However, the Night Hunters, Anea's cabal, had other things that they were dealing with. She talked about owl walkers and white supremacist assholes and other things that they were dealing with. Putting two and two together, a few days later, the news started reporting they had captured the culprit of the terrorist attack, and his followers were brought to justice. Seattle seemed to be routing out the less savory elements. Anea and her friends must be very busy. And so are you. You bleed and toil for your goals and your followers online. At the directive of Seraph, you have a new design you want to try out when it's ready. In the meantime, Mark Cardassian, no relation, has been helping teach you about Ether and the secret society that he belongs to. He's given you a copy of the Kitab al-Asir. It's very interesting, and it doesn't contradict anything from Seraph, so it's probably okay. Seán, Mr. Unknown. We don't know much about you yet, but today we will attempt to explore who this previously unknown mage is while catching up with the streaming life of Lucia. And perhaps, as we have seen before, the tarot can help guide our understanding. Seán, we'll start with you. It is time to peer into the fate of Mr. Unknown. When you are ready, you can left click or right click on the leftmost card and choose flip.
The leftmost card. All right. Flip card.
There you go. And here we have the star reversed. The star typically would mean inspiration, confidence, and self-esteem. But in this reversed condition, it's more about doubt and pessimism and stubbornness. It is often associated with meditation and the other side of material reality, the Umbra. So, starting with you here, and this being the card representing the past, what are some of the things that Mr. Unknown has doubts over?
Well, I think the big one at the moment has to do with the recent death of his father, and the kind of innate doubt that comes with a kind of world-shaking event like that. Is insofar as, like, you know, what am I gonna do next? Sort of big questions like that. So that's what occurs to me.
Yeah, facing mortality as,
Sure.
you know, the realization that a parental figure is not going to be around. Yeah, definitely. That can definitely be a hit to one's soul. Yeah, we can deal with that. That's very good. Do you have your character sheet open?
I don't know. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Now I do.
Wonderful. So, we're going to tie this a little bit into the tarot here. But the first card being the star, and the feelings of doubt and pessimism and the like. Under talents, what talents have you had as Mr. Unknown? We'll spend a few points here.
Sure. What do I have to spend?
I'm going to say in this particular case, as we are building, we're going to have a total of 27 points to
Okay.
spend in talents, skills, and knowledges.
And over the 3 of them. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
But you don't have to spend them all at once. We can spend some more later as we learn more about Mr. Unknown.
Sure. Let's see. So should I just start adding?
Yeah, I'd say
Alright.
let's talk about a few that make sense with this recent, well, not just recent development, because this is the past card. This is things that you probably have learned since boarding school and going into this kind of later college years, I suppose?
Sure. Um, I'd say certainly leadership and subterfuge jump out at me, as well as
Okay.
streetwise.
Okay. So yeah, we can put a dot in each of those for now.
All right.
And let's assign 2 more dots. This time anywhere on the field.
Okay. I'm gonna do. What's the difference between occult and esoterica?
So that's always a good question. A cult is knowing the practices of hidden societies and how they operate. Whereas esoterica is more about like being able to square different belief structures and with one another.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Okay, I think I'm gonna do 1 in melee.
So that is specific to weapon combat.
I suppose it'd be martial arts for hand-to-hand stuff, wouldn't it?
For formal training, yes. There's also brawl, which is the kind of street equivalent of hand to hand.
All right. No, I think I'll keep that.
Okay.
And then finally, I'm thinking I'm gonna put the last point into science.
Science, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Sure.
Following that, choose the next card to the right and go ahead and flip that. Okay. That
Interesting.
appears. Another reversed card. This is the 6 of Dynamism. In the cosmology of Mage, there are 3 primal forces, being dynamism, stasis, and entropy. It's essentially the same as the werewolf, worm, wild, and weaver. But ultimately, the idea is there is a font of creation where things spring from, primordial dynamic forces and are structured by stasis and, more conscious thought. And then that is eventually consumed by entropy and returned to the more dynamic state. So the tarot here represents that as well, with the four suits of entropy, or sorry, stasis, pattern as they call it, dynamicism, primordial, and questing. So that's kind of the reason why they're named this way and not like stars, not like swords and wands and stuff. But dynamism is kind of that breaking down of things.
It's appropriate.
So in this case, this is reversed. Normally, the 6 of dynamism would be about a journey, traveling, a passage, but this is about failure and obstacles, difficulties.
Interesting.
Often associated with synthesis. So strong ties to, building and having failure at that. what type of projects in the metaphysical sense would Mr. Unknown be working on that they're having difficulty overcoming?
Hmm. So I'm thinking that a big part of this character is an attempt to square the metaphysical in a scientific sense.
Absolutely.
Whether that's in vain or not, that's what they're attempting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just to have that understanding of it in a scientific sense. And I think that they're probably having a lot of difficulty with that currently.
As
With
humanity has for
yeah,
countless generations. And
exactly.
in the teachings of the Etherites, um, the experiment, like traditional science in our world, is repeatable, shows a pattern, or not pattern, but shows repeatable results on experiments that you can do over and over and over again.
Sure.
Um, and that's not so with Etherite philosophy. They believe that everything is connected, and the observer is, and um, the scientist are intricate parts of the experiment and the results of the experiment. So they don't expect repeatable results. They do expect phenomenal results on occasion. And sometimes it can be recreated when you become more familiar with the different um, practices from the different spheres in the ether. So,
All
um,
right.
I think anyone who has tasted both the mundane sleeper world and the ether world can see that there's that difference. Um, but there's always some, and it sounds like Mr. Unknown is one of those, that's looking for a bit more structure in
Yeah.
that regard. So, with that in mind, I think that speaks to the essence that Mr. Unknown has. So I'm going to place pattern as their essence. Their avatar seeks um, structure.
Sure.
And with that in mind, let's go ahead and add 5 more dots um, anywhere on the board.
Sure.
In this case, we're talking about the present. We're talking about things that you learn. So let's put 3 of those dots in abilities.
All right. I'm definitely gonna go one into research.
Mm-hmm.
I think one into one into technology.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
And then finally, given the background that they come from, I think I'm going to put one into etiquette.
Fair enough. And now you have 2 more points to spend anywhere else. And you can
Sure.
double up. You don't have to stick into the new stuff. You can actually
Sure,
start
sure.
moving into two dot territory.
Okay. 2 more anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do one in academics. And then I think I'm going to put another one into leadership.
Okay. Mr. Unknown is starting to take shape. Let us... Yeah, 1 more dot to spend here. We have the 9 spheres of metaphysical understanding here. Of those 9, I think you indicated that Prime was
Yes.
the one that you're most interested in. So let's go ahead and put 1 dot in that. That seems to be where your focus is going to start.
Sure. Uh, where is... There's Prime.
Spheres. Center of the yeah, center left. Excellent. Okay. Let's flip the future card.
All right. More reversed. All right.
Reverse is not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, I know. I just think it's interesting, the pattern.
Everything's reversed.
These are all placed down randomly. So, the sun reversed. One of the major arcana cards, so it has a lot that it covers. Typically, it would be about liberation, and creation and revitalization. But reversed, it's more retrogression, depletion, draining. So the future may not necessarily be all rainbows and butterflies.
Sure.
It may be that you have a difficult road ahead in your pursuits, and it may be depleting in the end of it. Not the saddest thing, but not the... But if we're going into a future that will be draining, let's take a look at some knowledges. Let's add 3 dots to your knowledges that you may help prevent or deal with this future.
Okay. I'm going to put another one into science.
Faith and science.
And I'm also going to put one into esoterica.
Okay. It's always good to kind of know how others are, operating.
Yeah, and then I think finally we'll do politics.
Always be both a shield and a sword.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have a choice. You've got 5 dots all spent in knowledges. Do you see yourself adding any more to knowledges?
Yeah, I could see 1 or 2 more there, potentially.
Any preference between talents, skills, or knowledges?
Feel like I could use a bit more in talents.
So, when ranking these 3, which one would be least important?
Right now, probably skills.
Okay. So, if skills is your least important, you can spend 1 more dot in skills.
All right. Let's do another dot into research, I think.
And then you can spend 1 more dot anywhere else on the other, either talent or knowledges.
Talents or knowledges. All right. I'm going to put 1 into athletics.
Athletics. Okay. And with that, going into the future, you are you looking to know more about Prime, or are you looking to expand your understanding in the other spheres?
Right now, I'd say probably more trying to figure out more about Prime.
Okay. So we are going to add 2 dots here. 1 in Arete and 1 in Prime.
All right.
Okay. Let us move on to the next card in our reading.
All right.
This card tends to represent core reasons for circumstances. And looks like, yes, we've got the Chariot.
The Chariot.
Wow.
Is a hard association with the Sons of Ether, or Society of Ether, as they go by now. In the picture, you actually have one of the famous mages, Jet Boy, as he takes his place among the explorers of the possible, in a Zeppelin, no doubt. They love their Zeppelins. This meaning is usually travel and growth and evolution and progress and opportunity. So it seems very likely that the current circumstances around you would be part of your etherite education, but also, just the things going on you in the world. So, what are some of these elements that are part of the core reason for your stalemate and dim outlook in the future?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that one.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that one more time?
I'll try.
Sorry.
No. I going off the top of my head here. So this is the card that represents one of the core reasons for your current circumstances.
Right.
So trying to get down to how is the Society of Ether and the opportunities that it provides affecting your current mood?
I think it is positively affecting it. I think. I think they're building. I'm building connections and that sort of thing, and kind of spreading out my base within the society right now.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think that works. That makes a lot of sense. With that in mind, I'd say, let's add add 5 more dots.
Sure.
Equally choosing between talents or knowledges.
So 3 in one and 2 in the other?
However you want.
Okay. Alright. Let's do 1 more athletics.
Okay. The Etherites love their adventure. They're very
Sure.
pop fiction sort of thing.
We'll do 1 in intimidation.
You got to get your Batman on every once in a while.
Exactly. We will do 1 in computer. We'll do a third in science. That's 4.
Strong leanings.
And we will do, finally, 1 in... no, that's a skill. Never mind. 1 in investigation.
Okay. Very cool. talking about the connections and that you're trying to build. Um, on a scale, let's add to your backgrounds contacts.
Sure.
These are probably, this is in the Son of Ether. These contacts are going to vary in their quality based on the number of dots you assign here. So how much do you want to give? I'll say anywhere between 1 and 3.
Let's say 2.
Okay, 2's good. I also always give 1 dot in Avatar.
Okay.
Not everybody chooses this background, but I think it's essential to the core of the game. So, I give that one away for free. And looking at the field of the other 8 spheres, which of those would you want to know more about?
Time.
Okay.
Do I put a dot there?
Interesting. Yeah, put a dot there. That is an interesting field for sure. Not everybody understands it. In fact, I think nobody does. All right. With that, we're going to go to the next card, the last card. This one is the potential of the situation.
All right. Last card. Oh my. That's another 6.
That is the 6 of primordialism, I believe.
All kinds of patterns.
3 major arcana. That's nice. Then 2 6s. I mean, that would have been amazing if you had like 3 6s. And then pulled the devil card, and you're just like, we give up, we're done. But no, that didn't happen this time. So this card absolutely represents opportunity, and in its reversed configuration, it is about endings and retirement. I think this is a potential warning that you can lose the opportunities to grow without your father around. And you can lean in and accept that fate, or you can do something about it, is usually how I interpret the potentials of a situation. This is clearly a warning.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about that? And how does that apply to Mr. Unknown?
My brain is not functioning. Yeah, sorry, one more time.
So, how is this warning of receding opportunity affecting, and how does it apply to Mr.
I mean,
Unknown?
I think he's wary of it, but also there's a part of him that is intrigued by the idea.
Okay. I love my new keyboard. You can't hear me typing as much.
I'm just terribly impressed. Not only did you pull 3 Arcana, you got Star and Chariot. Like,
Oh,
what
yeah.
are the odds?
That's true, yeah. Huh.
I pulled everyone's tarot, like in order, for this project, and all from the same deck. So there's no repeats with anybody.
I didn't think about the Star and Chariot thing. That is interesting, you're right.
Cool stuff.
Hmm.
Definitely not a prediction of dangerous
Of course
things.
not.
Never any danger in a mage's life ever. They can handle it all. Okay. Let us, with this full spread in front of us, and this idealist who portrays themselves as a contrary, usually devil's advocate, um, seeking structure in their life. Let us spend. Let's see, we've got. Let's spend the last 7 ability points, but stopping at 9 for either talents or knowledges.
Okay. So I have...
Currently
Can I put
have
any more
7.
into skills?
Skills is capped at 5.
Okay. Um,
The next one's going to be capped at 9, and then the rest will go into that other. So either 2 more in talents or 1 more in knowledges.
I think I'm gonna do 2 more in talents.
Okay.
We're gonna do brawl and another in leadership.
Okay. Now shifting over to knowledges, the 5 last points.
All right. Well, I mean, can I max out science?
Yes.
I think I'm gonna do that. There's 2. And then we'll go 1 more on academics. That's 3. 4, 1 more into esoterica. And let's do 1 into occult.
Okay. Fantastic. So, with your abilities set, we have a few more things to look at. We have determined what your instruments are, how you affect things magically, in terms of like the tools that you use. And that would be money and wealth, energy, periodicals and books, devices and machines, elements, symbols, writings and inscriptions, and runes. All very solid pieces of equipment. With the practices of the Etherites, are you looking more for hypertech or weird science or something else? How... This is the equivalent of, do you practice witchcraft or, divination, that sort of thing, or voodoo?
So, what are my options, and what do they mean exactly then?
So, hypertech would be, high, almost science fiction type devices.
Sure.
Weird science would be like the Ghostbusters and the movie Weird Science, where it's a bunch of gutter magic, things that may not necessarily have strong scientific principles behind them, but they are working in a strange, weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And then There's a few other options, but those are the two that stick out to me with most of the Aetherites. But
Sure.
we can always narrow it down. Oops, wrong book. I've got another book to open. This one.
Like Lucia uses hypertech to
Mhm.
she believes she can contact and see angels with it.
Right.
But she also, does a lot of prayers and meditation
Mm-hmm.
It
crystals.
comes across as a lot of weird science, in my opinion. But that's how it works. Okay, Book of Magic. Um, Focus in the arts. So there's also the idea of reality hacking, if you were like, the Matrix, um, type of stuff. Um, there is high ritual magic. Um, there's cybernetics, craftwork, the building of things, which is kind of like hypertech, but it's a little bit more rustic. Um, Hyper economics, if you were using financial powers.
Are these listed somewhere?
They are, if you wanted to check out the Mage 20th Anniversary Edition, page 566, um, that's got a full list. You're also a rich kid, so let me see if there's anything in the Rich Bastard's Guide to Magic. That is a thing. So for the rich guide, you could have media control, investment, charity, and appropriation are all various practices.
Those aren't particularly interesting to me.
I didn't think so, but I figured I'd throw them out there.
Yeah. Um. Hmm.
From what you're describing, I'm thinking, weird science may not necessarily work the best for you because you are kind of that pattern structure seeking
Right.
person. So with that, I kind of lean more towards um, hypertech or craft work. Because that's a building of things to do things.
Yeah.
And
If
craft work, yeah, go ahead.
so no, but you go ahead.
So craft work doesn't necessarily have to be all that mystic, although again, with the Aetherites, you can walk that line. Um, it really is just about like being a craftsman and having your crafts affect reality.
Yeah. I like that, but at the same time, where I have had I been planning on that, I think I would have put points into crafts.
Mm.
Um, so I think we will go with hypertech.
Okay, hypertech it is, and it's a good one. Um, it makes the most sense with the environment that you're in.
All
So
right.
I'm going to list that in the notes here as that's just a side note for when we get into some real magic. Um, you have assigned 3 dots into the various spheres. Um, to place it in, I'd say 1 dot in a sphere is perceptual. You're able to sense and find out phenomena related to it, and make connections that way. 2 dots is where you're really starting to be able to affect it, manipulate it on a lower level. Whereas 3, you start getting the ability to um, manipulate it at larger levels and lower levels create as well. So, um, so for example, with life, um, at 1 you can detect life uh, functions and that sort of thing. At 2, you could heal or harm yourself, and then with 3, you can heal or harm others. And that's the very basics, but that kind of applies to everything else to some degree on that scale. Though I would say sometimes with like mind, reading somebody's mind at two dots is a thing, instead of like, because your own mind is 1. So
All right.
so with that in mind, was there any desire to bring Prime beyond 2?
Remind me what Prime does exactly again.
So going into, I've got it on the right hand side in the journals. I've got a bunch of resources for player resources under About the Spheres. I'm going to look up Prime. Prime's specialty is resonance, artifice, perceptions, channeling, creation, and destruction.
That's
If
right.
you're familiar with classical magic stuff, it's like mana, or key, that sort of thing. By studying the raw energy of creation, a student of Prime learns to understand, manipulate, and absorb the 5th essence within all things. With Prime 1, you could sense that. You can consecrate items, infuse things with your personal quintessence. With 2, you can use it to form other beings. So, like, 2 Prime is used to conjure something from nothing. So, if you had, like, 2 in matter, you could use 2 matter, 2 Prime to create a brick from nothing.
Sure.
And then Prime 3 would be channeling quintessence from one source to another, enchanting life, enchanting energy weapons, crafting parapips, which are basically batteries, and making temporary wonders. You're not able to do more than that, but that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Frankly.
No, I think putting one more into Prime makes sense.
Okay. So, yeah. Let's add that 3rd in Prime and a 3rd in Arete. And that's the limit there. So you now have
All
2
right.
more dots to spend in spheres. Where would you like those to be spent?
I think I'm gonna put 1 in time and 1 in entropy. Oh, just 1.
Just 1. That's fine. Entropy is very good. I love entropy.
Yeah,
It's highly
as a concept, I'm a fan. I mean, kind of. It scares me, but you know.
it's overlooked often. Um, okay. I think for now, this is a good place to pause while we look into Lucia's fate.
Sure.
What do you think? You ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Just pull up. There we go. Bring up Lucia's page. When Lucia does her tarot readings, she's got different music. She's got some Enya going on in the background. So, unlike
Perfect.
Seán's mage, we've already made Lucia for the most part. So this is hopefully going to just give us more information about her. So let's pull that first card on the left. See what we get. Another reversed card. You guys just keep pulling all of them. The Page of Questing.
Page.
Mhm. Yeah, this deck's got 1 through 9. No, yeah, 1 through 10. Page, Knight, Queen, King. It's a lot. Okay. This card is often associated with discovery. In its reversed position, we're looking at indecision or unpleasantness, as opposed to learning and new directions and adventure. So, in the course of Lucia's life, specifically the more recent past, how are we dealing with indecision or unpleasantness?
I mean, there's been some unpleasantness.
I mean,
I think,
you did almost kill yourself. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Lucia connects those two, indecision and unpleasantness, even disaster. That when you're not 100% on your path, things can go terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah. The fragile path is fragile. I suppose. Makes sense. And all right. Well, that's wonderful. Let's move into the present. Let's see what's happening in Lucia's life now. The Two of Primordialism. This one's often associated with symbiosis. Sometimes also with the more vampiric tones in the World of Darkness, but in the upright position here, it means reflection, love, passion, carnality. Oftentimes, it's more about, like I said, the association of symbiosis. So, in the present, now that Cancel seems to have been taken care of, and Seattle seems to be on the upswing, and you've had your recent indecisions and unpleasantness. How's the current present feeling for Lucia? How's she dealing with all that?
I mean, I think it's increasing her drive to be more in tune with, more more connected to, and almost partnered with Seraph. That's her driving force at this point.
That continued relationship, absolutely. Let's take a look at her future on a broad sense. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That is the 10 of Pattern. This is clearly associated with wealth, stability, abundance, and prosperity. So, unlike Mr. Unknown's future, you might need to be wearing some shades. Yours is so bright. How would Lucia achieve this wealth and stability?
I mean, following the incident, Inea met her and helped her, and she met Mr. Kardashian from the Seattle Underground Council. 'Em. And those both feel like possibilities as far as finding more stability. But as far as wealth and that kind of physical, non-spiritual stability and abilities, I think she may need to get in touch with Jerry. What's his Jerry Berrigan.
Brannigan. Yes.
And
Jerry
see if
Bear.
maybe it's time to expand Instagrace, both to help other people on their journeys and also to make sure she has the resources she needs to continue hers.
I agree. Let's take a look at the next card for the core reasons for our current circumstances.
Sorry.
Just laugh at that. Oh, look, she's sad. Okay.
What's the problem? It's me.
This is the 9 of dynamism. The meaning is pretty clear based on the pictures. It is despair, misery, desolation, mental cruelty, associated with suffering. There's been a lot of suffering recently. There's a lot of circumstances, not exactly Lucia's fault, but were she to trace the line of the initial summoning of Cancel to its end, or apparent end, because it may not be, it's actually still an open question, there are a few bodies along the way. How does Lucia square that now that she knows that her actions have caused suffering?
I mean, she feels guilty. She doesn't like to approach that directly. She doesn't spend a lot of time contemplating her guilt, or, and I would say, not dealing with it. But it's definitely there, and it's taking a bit of a toll. Certainly coloring some of her decisions since then.
I would hope so. Otherwise, you wouldn't be human, right? You'd be moving into some other, more dastardly, evil version of yourself. Let's see what that potential of the situation card tells us.
Potential of the situation.
Sometimes I shock myself. The devil. Reversed.
Ooh.
The devil card, you can clearly see, is associated with the worm, the Nefandi, those who seek oblivion, that instead of ascension want to tear it all down. In the reversed configuration here, it does often represent understanding, healing, freedom, mirth, but it also represents hedonism and self-centeredness, and that's better than the other way. So, good thing it's reversed.
Yeah. When I saw a devil, I was like, ooh. And then I thought, well, devil reversed, that's an angel, right?
No.
No.
I'll just zip that right now. Maybe not. But this warning as we saw before, something you could lean into and find freedom towards the stability that the future card shows, or it could be darker. It can be a one tethered to the carnality and the earthly pleasures that we find here, and it's opposed to spiritual ascension. And with that, I think, Lucia, I think we know how you're. Oh, we don't know how it's going to work out, but we do have some clues on the future of Lucia. Let us focus in on Lucia in her home. You have a apartment in Seattle. Somebody helps pay for it. Who helps you pay the bills?
Very good question.
Is it your mentor that you used to know, your aunt, quote, quote, aunt? Or is it just funded by your online activities?
I would say it's probably as much as possible funded by online activities, sponsorships, and such.
Okay.
But certainly every once in a while I've had to take some help from my aunt or someone willing to help.
Yeah.
The world is full
You've
of good
got,
people.
yeah, absolutely. Lots of people are willing to help if it gets them and the world closer to spiritual understanding and guidance. To that end, you have spent a lot of this year perfecting this contraption that is to speak with the angels, and your guiding voice ever present, Seraph. Now, you are expecting company later, but for now, you're working on this machine. You are working very hard. And Seraph is watching over you. What's the next step that you're taking on this build?
Well, I think in light of what happened before, I want to make sure that that it's that it's tunable, that you can find the spirit you're looking for, not just whoever's in the neighborhood. Because
Okay,
apparently
so
that's an issue.
you're looking for targeting,
Yes.
point-to-point communication, not broadband.
Not just shouting into the void. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to get the frequency correct.
Mm-hmm. Let's have you, as part of this project, roll intelligence and technology.
All right, you have to remind me how to do that. Intelligence. I
Yeah,
have.
at the upper top, you've got 5 buttons that say dice pool or die pool.
Yeah, yeah.
You can hit the gear, and that'll give you an option to put in a attribute and an ability.
Oh. All right.
And then you can name that button whatever you want, and click the button, and it'll roll the dice. It's really quite nice.
All right. So intelligence and what did we say?
Technology.
Yeah.
You could also choose hyper technology, but you get less dice in that pool. The difficulty is going to be 6 either way, but you'll need you'll need less successes with the hypertech.
Okay. Oh, there I go. 4 successes.
Indeed. Yep. 8876. Beautiful. You have yourself grounded. You tinker a bit with some of the more mundane bits of this, and you feel you've got really close, that really soon you'll be able to send a concentrated, more directed message through the gauntlet into the other worlds. And as you've gone over the Book of Ether and studied under Mark, you feel that you've actually kind of had a bit of a breakthrough on this machine. You're doing pretty good. And Seraph, you can feel ever present, grudgingly nods as you work on this machine. You lose yourself in the time, and then just at the door.
Make sure everything's turned off and go see who it is.
You open the door, and standing there is a very attractive, athletic, besuited man. Mark Cardassian. No relation to the other lawyers of the same name. Just seems to be popular amongst lawyers.
Fair enough. Hello.
Hello, Lucia. How are you doing today? Hope, well, we had this planned. We were going to be going out, so wanted to introduce you to some other of my friends. How are you?
Great.
Excellent.
Doing well. Just things are wonderful, and enjoying working on this project, and it's just a wonderful day.
I'm glad to see you're in good spirits. So the machine coming along?
It's coming. It's still taking time, but I'm working on it.
So do you have like any specs that we could bring with us? From what I've seen, what you're working on could be a great help.
Oh, sure. Specs. I don't know. I could take a picture of it.
I suppose that we'll have to do.
I can go in and put some notes on it, like what crystals are where and where we've run the things. But yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I'll just take a picture.
Matter of fact, yeah, absolutely. Mind if I come in?
Oh no, please.
Okay.
show
Mark
him
smiles as you
what
take
she's
your
working
pictures.
on it. Yeah.
And he looks around and he kind of feels around and touches one of your closet doors. It's like, okay, yeah, that'll do.
Are you?
And as you're putting this together and trying to get some notes written out real quickly, the implications of what he's saying kind of dawn on you a bit. The recent weeks, Seattle has been kind of in a panicked state as there are strange luminous phenomenon manifesting above the city. It looks a little bit like the Aurora Borealis, but it's not behaving like the Aurora Borealis. For one, it's far too south to be that, and second, it's not following the normal magnetic resonance of the Earth's curvature. So, Mark wanting to bring you into a group of people that understand your machine, but in relation to this would be interesting.
Yeah, Mark, what are you thinking these other people can use it for?
Well, I mean, we really don't know. Um, the I had a date with Charlie the other day, and that just he's really spooked. He thinks it's aliens. Um,
Not
he's cute.
aliens.
He's really
Yeah.
cute when he gets on those conspiracy theory things, but unfortunately, I hate to admit it, but he could be right. So, me and some of the other Etherites, I mean, I'm not the most science type. We got a lot of people looking at these lights and kind of their effect on Seattle, and I'm out of my depth. I understand space. I can turn this table into gold and be really rich for the rest of my life. But instead, I try to help people, um, and spread it out and use our understanding of the world better. Um, I know it's not the best reason to become a lawyer, but I'm good at it. So, um, but I do have my Aetherite connections, and the guys were saying that they were having trouble looking into this, and I think you've got a genius. I think you can, you might have a perspective on things that they won't.
Well, sure, we can try. I have no idea if it'll work or anything, but we can certainly try.
Excellent. Okay. Let us. Yeah. He touches the door one more time. He's like, "There we go," and he knocks on it 3 times, and he opens the door, and instead of the inside of your closet as you would expect, it looks like a very sterile, clean, white and gray laboratory. After you.
Wow. All right. Well, step inside, kind of touching the door frame as I do, and enter this laboratory.
And it's interesting because the temperature in your room, in your apartment, is definitely warmer than the lab that you walk into, and it's sudden and jarring how much of a difference the temperatures are. It almost causes you like it's a bit of a mental dissonance that you're now actually in a different place, a different space than you were before. Not like walking into the hallway, but a different place entirely. And Mark looks behind. He's like, your door's locked?" And you make sure that it's locked. He comes running back. He's like, "Okay, no one's busted in. I promise." He snaps his fingers and then closes the door. And you are now inside this white gray laboratory with all sorts of science fiction looking devices lining the walls and on the different workbenches. There's a couple of people in white lab coats, all seemingly studying different things. You peer around and you see that there is windows. The windows are looking over the cityscape of Seattle. You are seemingly in a room floating above the city.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's pretty weird, huh?
What do the lights look like from up here?
Well, that's a good question. And the lights, it's definitely getting midday. It's not the evening yet, but at the center of the room is a holographic projection, and it has the city near the bottom, and above it are what would be the lights if you could see them during the day. And it seems to be monitoring that activity. At the head of the table is a well, we'll let Seán describe Mr. Unknown. Who's sitting at the head of this table?
Oh geez. I mean, a relatively nondescript looking individual, like not trying to draw too much attention to themselves, but dressed nicely, but stylishly, and yeah, just short cropped dark hair, kind of not pale skin, but not, I mean, like regular Seattle white people color.
So pale.
I guess, but I mean, pale. When I think of pale, I think of like dead people, and he doesn't look dead.
There's plenty of people in Seattle that look that way too, so understand. Light skin.
No more dead than usual.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's, I think that's pretty much it.
Any other accoutrement, any scientific equipment, anything that you're working on? Any equipment that you carry on your person?
I don't know. I think if there was any basic items that are relevant to my trade, then sure. But I don't know if I quite know enough to say one way or the other yet.
Okay. Not a problem. So here you are doing enlightened science, so to speak. It's not quite technocratic, union sort of sterile magic, but there's still a process to it. And I think your expertise, at least in this regard, is with like the study of creative energies, primal force, and you're evaluating these fluctuations in primal. People are witnessing it as electromagnetic, but it's definitely just that's a symptom of what you've come across, and you don't have the expertise in extra dimensional science, but you do feel that this is not local, and that's all that you've really ascertained so far. But we can, for you, what would be the process in which Mr. Unknown is looking into this unknown?
I think with a scientific lens, yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind is through means and methods that are tried and true and will produce results that are testable and yeah.
So you've got a few devices that you've used that have helped in the past to research or to extract information. Let's say that you're activating those devices. Let's have you roll your Hegarty, which is a big button at the top.
Okay.
It says Hegarty.
1 second. Find the right tab again. There we are. Okay. It's having do an input value. It just says description magic.
Yeah, description. You can make it whatever you want. It's not going to show. It's not a big deal to me.
DP mod.
That would be if you were casting like a rote, something that you've already practiced. That would add dice to your dice pool, but that's not appropriate here.
Sure. Okay. Difficulty.
Difficulty on this, it's just a perceptive thing, so it's coincidental, but you are using, you're just trying to perceive things. So the standard recipe for this is the dot that it requires, in this case 1, and for a coincidental effect +3. So the difficulty on this is 4.
Okay, so for the value that it's asking me to put in 4.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, and 3 successes, 4, 6, and 9. Excellent. Your devices definitely tell you that there is a strong temporal and probability effect here, that there's definitely this phenomenon is out of sync with Earth Standard Time.
Interesting.
And as you are starting to find this out, because you've just been brought in to this think tank yourself, which, by the way, do we have a name for Mr. Unknown?
Oh, jeez.
It could be Mr. Unknown, to be fair, but
no, I don't want to do like Mr. Unknown, but can I get back to you can I think about it for a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm bad at names.
That's fine. So, Mark has brought Lucia into this camouflaged floating laboratory. And he walks in with this. Well, Lucia, go ahead and describe yourself. I know we got a picture here, but it's always fun.
Sure. Lucia's in her mid-20s, and dark eyes, dark hair, somewhat less pale. She's not dressed impressively. Probably a step above yoga pants and just a nice sweater and a little cross necklace. And she's just very pleasant. Happy to see you.
Happy to be there. Exactly. Mark walks in. He's like, okay, great. Looks like we got some people already working on this. Like I said, this isn't my area of expertise. I know Professor Lucas was here. Oh, shit. He's not here anymore, is he? He's probably fine. He does this sometimes. But everyone, this is Lucia. She is a mechanic, and she has some insights, I think, that might help your team. So go ahead and, get to know one another and let us find out what the hell this is. And he points at the table as the hologram still shimmers with the lights.
All right. Well, yeah, I suppose I will approach and extend my hand, introduce myself and all that.
It's so nice to meet you.
Likewise, I'm sure.
I wouldn't call myself a mechanic, really, primarily, but I have been working on building something.
Is that right?
Yeah. My hope is to use it to communicate and find celestial spirits in the area and communicate with them. But
He squints just a little tiny bit.
One of the other scientists on the other end is like, are you talking about like an extra dimensional communication device?
Yes, I suppose it would qualify as that. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. That might be, I mean, the way that the phenomenon is structured, it looks like it's just a little off tilt, and it may be extra dimensional in nature. I'm not quite sure about that, but this could, help us ascertain if this is something that is naturally occurring or being directed at the very least. I'm really curious to see your tech. What you got on over there? And this really tall, thin woman stands up, and she kind of like leaps over the railing into the center and pulls down her goggles, and it's like, so where's the machine? Where's it at?
Oh, it's not finished, but I brought pictures, and I can explain to you and kind of show you what I'm building it from, and what parts are working.
Oh, pictures. You know
Does
what?
my phone work here?
This is a technologically advanced lab, so the paradigm of cell phones does work. Yes.
All right. But yeah, she has some nice high-resolution pictures of the device. And
This lanky woman grabs the phone. She's kind of flips through. She's like, "Oh, wow. Is that a crystal?"
yes, those are cleansed clear quartz crystals, and there's 7 of them. You see how they're arranged, and My hope is I tried rose quartz and it didn't. It was giving all kinds of funky feedback with it, but I thought maybe the clear quartz would work better, and it has been.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. The ether definitely does have different vibrational properties with different crystals that we've come across. I think that with your configuration there, absolutely would work better than rose quartz. Um, that's fantastic. I mean, well, I never would have thought of it. Congratulations, scientist! And she goes for like a high five.
hesitation, and then she, yes, high five.
Yeah. I'm Sally, by the way.
Hi, Sally. I'm Lucia.
Nice to meet you, Lucia. I think you're on a good start here. We'll help you with this. We'll get this working, and we'll find out what the hell that thing is.
Okay.
The other scientists in the room, like, all kind of like, yeah. There's a sense of joyous exuberance in exploring the unknown that these etherites all share, and as you guys are kind of starting to get to know and meet one another and research this phenomenon, the center console goes dead, and outside your floating room, the sky brightens, and there is a flash to the west, and everybody rushes to the windows to look out, and falling from the sky is a massive meteorite covered in smoke and flame, and
that's good.
everyone tracks it as it goes beyond the horizon. It seems to have fall pretty far out, beyond your vision, past the Olympic Peninsula. And for a moment, things are quiet. And then there is a explosion of sound, and all the klaxons inside the lab start going off, and there are seismic needles reading back and forth, and blinking lights, and different scientists all move to different stations to take a look at it, and the pilots of this room all seem to get to their stations, and you see more objects, smaller, falling from the sky, but closer, and some even falling directly into the Puget Sound. And in slow motion, without any real ability to affect the world, you see the wave pull up and grow from the ripples of these large objects hitting the water. And it's growing, and you see that this is a massive, massive tsunami that is crashing towards Seattle. And you can see parts of the city already. The buildings seem to be swaying from apparent earthquake, and the wave crashes past the bay, somewhat protected because of Elliott Bay, but a lot of what you can see is crushed under the weight of this wall of water. And that is where we end today's session.
Oh, wow. Woo. All right.
And that is where I'm starting book 8.
Wow.
Pretty
Very
exciting.
nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
very much for running things.
I enjoy this so much that I've done it 10 times this week. But it is a pleasure always to play with you guys. I know this one was a bit short, and we definitely had a bit of character building moments.
Oh, that's fine.
More mechanical than narrative, but I think it goes a long way. And I don't know what your schedules are like.
Gonna be opening
But-
up after the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks are gonna be real hectic.
Understood. So I'm not gonna force or plan anything around you, Seán. I know, like I said, you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
But foreseeable, I've got several weeks of publishing book 7 on YouTube. Book 2 is going out like Monday, or chapter 2 is going out on Monday. I'm not sure. There's like 7 chapters, so we got like 7 weeks before we even publish book 8, and book 8 is going to be stuff that we start filming and recording a couple weeks from now anyway. So that seems to mesh pretty well. I'm actually kind of happy about that confluence of coincidence.
Yeah.
So excellent. I think with Mr. Unknown, as we're
Yes,
calling him
I will
for the
have a
moment.
name for you soon.
No worries. I am not at all put off by that. Like I said, we can easily retcon fix things easy peasy. But I think with you we've got a few more steps, like figuring out the kind of details of your avatar. As you've noticed, it could be a guiding presence and almost sometimes an interfering presence, like it is with Lucia. It could also function as like your inner genius. It could be just a voice in your head.
Sure.
So think about that, how you'd want that to manifest. We've got your practices with hypertech. We know your affiliation, and we know the spheres that you are capable of. So most of this character is built on a functional level. There's a few freebie points to spend in, which I think we'll just do as we go. As you like, if you find like, hey, I don't know how to do this, it's like, well, we'll just add some points to make you able to do it. That's where the freebie points are going to be for you, and I think that fits your style pretty well.
Sure.
And then just kind of think about there's in the mage book on that same page, the 366. It has not just the list of practices and instruments, but also paradigm. And the paradigm is really just kind of like how you view the world and how you want it to be, you know.
Sure.
So for some people, it's like everything is data, and some people, everything is chaos, you know, that sort of thing. So, or tech holds all the answers. Those are very, you know, technocratic types.
Sure.
But give a little thought into that, and I think, and a name, and I think we can move along just fine.
All right. Sounds good.
And is there anything for me before we go? Because I like to make sure that we, if there's any notes to take, I can take them.
Not that comes to mind for me. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. My schedule for Monday is one more solo session with Billy. Went to her birthday party last Saturday. Banger. It was awesome. Thanks, Billy. Always a good time down there in Lacey. So the following week, we may have our first like group session, or the week after that. And the group sessions don't necessarily have to be the same mix of people every time. So at this point, I could very theoretically on those Mondays just bring different people in.
Sure.
So I'll keep you informed, and we'll go from here.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys. This was fun. I hope you had a good time.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Nice.
Learning a little bit new stuff. All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Good night.
All right. Bye.